Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Brill. And today we're talking generative AI, or more specifically, the visual content that you see at our expos and our conferences and at Knowledge. And we're going to speak with Eduardo Nauiack and Dan Durller, who are two of the members of the Spark team, our internal creative team here at ServiceNow. And they're going to talk about the philosophy and the thinking behind creating the best generative AI images possible. But to get us started, Ed, really walk us through what the Spark team is.
The Spark team is one of the biggest allies that our execs have in terms of communicating clearly. We are, at the service of all our C-suite. Really, we call them the P5. We are at the service of the VPs that report to them, the SVPs, the GMs. And we also, support other teams that are doing things for those leaders in terms of like just delivering the best quality narrative and then delivering the best quality visuals to go with that narrative.
What are some of those events, some of those presentations that you are delivering on? Ed had mentioned Knowledge, and there's Craft Summit, and there's a lot of these internal and external things.
Just before this call, I was tapped with hey, Dan, I have a PowerPoint question. We are known as those experts within anything and everything that has to do with presentations, including the slideware, as I call it. So your PowerPoints, your keynotes, we'll have scheduled events that we'll support, which embodies some of our larger live events.
These are full broadcast productions. These are not small little, hey, let's just share a deck and call it a day.
They're pretty big, and we get to have a lot of creative freedom within those. One step up from that, mentioned Knowledge. So that's our kind of the Super Bowl of the year, our biggest main event. So we'll have larger than life jumbotrons that are repeated across a massive convention center. Our executives will be up on stage, and the very cinematic and choreographed graphics that complement the messages they're delivering behind them on those jumbotrons are what Ed and I and folks on the Spark team will produce to really drive that impact and the message we want our audiences to walk away with.
But all that great content that you have created traditionally was done by you guys just, locked into a room, so to speak.
It's still us locked in a room listening to listening to music or just trying to chug coffee. But now we have like what feels like an army of helpers. Like I feel like an army of one now.
So if we look at like our quality of life day to day, spend 4 hours in a stock site, trying to piece together images, realizing like maybe this isn't going to work because I can't quite find the right objects or whatever it may be, versus knowing and having the confidence that in Midjourney, I have my prompt base all set, ready to go. I can repeat that with all these different objects and they come up perfect, married in style. It's just so much more fun.
Giving me goosebumps. Nothing better for a designer to have that coffee rush and then like know that nobody's in your way. You just like put everything you want in there and repeat, change this, change the style, and just add to it, realize what's not working. Like I personally love that. And like I'll give an example of a project that we can share that's just half the press. Basically, it was an internal hackathon style that the theme that they were already sending out was like a racetrack or racing. And fast cars. People like to go to fast cars. And I usually say no to fast cars. Like the executives love, put a Ferrari on it or whatever. And it's like, I usually say no. But just with the stock image that they had used, which was okay, I was able to like bring it to a place where also on the theme of leveraging the things we already know, like, Dan was saying, like, we still use the other tools like Photoshop, but we also use the things that are like our personal interests. I love Formula One, I love racing, I love MotoGP. And I was like, oh my God, this is the project I needed. Like you guys actually want to do something about racing. I didn't have to push it. And now like I pulled Midjourney in front of them. And because they were like, do you want us to provide some stock imagery or we want to use? I was like, no, we can do this and not make it tacky. And the idea was that like making that ribbon that we're talking about, like this, the green energetic ribbon, have a feel of like a speed camera capturing something that left that streak in a racetrack, but without the car. And you can show the car once, but it's not like limited to the fact that if we went on a stock photography website, it would be nearly impossible to find something that wouldn't be tacky or it wouldn't be too literal. Like we wouldn't be able to customize it to make it feel like ServiceNow. It wouldn't feel like our other presentations. It would look like it'd be a presentation about cars. And that's why we say no to those things when it was just stock.
But you both had mentioned something that really keys into, Ed, what you just said, and this idea of producing. You're not just creating something, you're producing a whole world and a whole experience and a whole concept, where before it was just, okay, here's the images for a presentation. You're getting deep into really being able to iterate upon what somebody is feeling. How has that changed when you're using Gen AI? How do you have that conversation?
If you're in the audience and you see a product demo pop up onto the screen and it's edge to edge, it's just a demo, and it plays through the demo, it has no real environment that it lives in. And this was a problem that we recognized within a lot of the demos that we were producing, especially on the main stage keynotes. So to Midjourney we go. It dawned on us to create an environment that maybe is within the realm of where these demos might find themselves, or these screens, these products that we produce. So with Midjourney, we were able to create these environmental spaces using like depth of field, so that they're a little bit blurry, but the demo is crisp in the front, and it creates this sense of depth and this real elegance that is just captivating to audiences. And if you throw like a little bit of like a camera movement on there while your demo is moving, that's the chef's kiss. It really looks stunning, and up on huge jumbotrons, it really adds to this next level experience at a main stage keynote, and that's exactly what we did using Midjourney, using tools like After Effects to composite them together, and then housing it all in Keynote, which runs off the show machines up onto the jumbotrons.
I want to also get a little more into th- the challenges, because there's always going to be challenges when you're doing this, not just the time it takes to do it, but the challenges in um, getting to cool or getting to yes. When you are working with a requester and creating this, um, are there challenges when it comes to pulling out the idea from your requester, or pulling out the idea that somebody has? Um, and how do you tackle it from a design point of view?
My biggest challenge that I consider to be the biggest challenge is how to make the brand look and feel not feel fragmented. And we keep that in mind. Because I know that, the brand's always evolving. Every, more mature brand is mostly malleable, at least like I would say 80 to 90% malleable, because it has to evolve with its environment. And our brand is changing and evolving, and at the same time, there is a brand library. There is a suggested use of the images that are there, which are, either custom taken or stock, but in a similar vibe. However, we're getting to the point where we're creating Midjourney artwork or other tools that we use that is getting like to the level or beyond what you could produce, even if that stock photography was like done in the highest standards possible. Because there's just no availability sometimes to actually produce that. You need an entire team. You need a whole globe-trotting team of people going in and out. And that does happen. Like, our photography team is extensively worked through the whole world to take specific photos, and they're great, but they're also we get saturated of seeing them too much. So to me, the biggest challenge is to have this responsibility of knowing that we can't just create basically anything. Like, it has to jive with the rest of the system.
This speed of being able to create something maybe not good, but get iterations in front of decision makers faster than they can think about it. How does that change the creative process for you when you're working within a corporation and delivering a message that needs to be on brand?
Once we kind of broke through, and I'd say the place we broke through was those EX live events. So Amy Loki, our chief experience officer, encouraged us to kind of bend and break the rules of our brand. It was an internal event. We didn't need to follow the brand guidelines, and we ended up coming up with different themes. This was before Midjourney. We just started using Midjourney to create those themes at a faster rate for those EX Live meetings. So we'd create tons of different visual styles based on our experiments in Midjourney, And they really started to catch the attention of the executives we were supporting, those around us, those that had anything to do with the production. Like, this stuff is mind-bendingly good. It was so fresh and new. And Ed and I were having a blast producing those. So it really kind of came around full circle within those meetings to like start to use this tool with a business value behind it. From there, we kind of broke out into our externally facing materials like Financial Analyst Day, the Knowledge Stage, and other places.
Yeah, when we went to like Financial Analyst Day with that, it was a big responsibility, honestly. That first one, the Utah one, I felt like was a great milestone for us because we spent a lot of time thinking about it and developing something that looked really photorealistic, because we're also following brand guidelines, right? We're not breaking free from it. We're looking at the stock photography that exists for brand and then trying to think how can we expand that in a way that's using, generative AI. And photography is a great place to use it. And we'll cover, the ethics and what we use as best ethics to use these things in the third episode of this podcast. But we also believe that using photography-based artwork is a little more ethical, because we're not telling it to copy a specific artist. Basically, like, since the Midjourney is trained on all this information, not that photography is not copyrighted, it is, but we're not telling it to copy a specific photographer. We're basically just using a style of photography as a guide, like DSLR, 4K, or depth of field, or macro, to use that responsibly.
So that's a big decision that you made, that choice between illustrative and maybe a fine art bent to a photographic or even photorealism. That's a definitive choice in the work that you were doing, correct?
Had we needed to recreate, say, those sandstone arches in Moab with the neon lines flowing through them from scratch, there's no way we would have had the time, resources, capacity to be able to produce every single one of those images for that event. So at that moment, that was kind of like an inflection point for us. We knew we were onto something. We were not only producing a higher quality product, we were creating it in a fraction of the time that would have had we needed to find those resources.
I thought about it. Like, if we were to do that, we'd have to get a professional photographer out to Moab and someone to run with a stick of light, like to take long exposure. And how many takes would that take to get one good photo at the perfect sunrise? It would be, I don't know, $80,000, $100,000. I don't know. Like, I've been at agencies before. I know it would be incredibly pricey. The whole crew, like hotel, travel, like none of that. Like, it's all basically like right there. Let's create it. So it's mind blowing.
How much do you see this changing the way we do things from this point on? Is it a game changer, such a cheap word, but is it really changing the way you design and create?
Let's use that cheap word, game changer, hands down. And I see it evolving to the point of scale. We're going to scale this. So we're going to put into the fingertips of those around us, designers and non-designers alike, the ability to achieve at that same quality bar. When our top executives brag to the other executives of how fast we did something for them, I gave this to them an hour ago. Look how amazing that is.
I was going to say, that's got the greatest, most dangerous compliment ever. It's like, wow, we did it fast and good. How did that happen?
You almost don't want people to know how fast you can do something, but sometimes there's no way. Like, they gave it to us an hour ago and we gave it back looking like this. Now you know what we can do in an hour, but don't count on it every single hour of the day. Like, we can't burn us out. Don't overpat the bunny, we say.
So there you have it, a little peek under the hood, as it were, of how we're using generative AI to create some of that amazing content that you see every day. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe on whatever device you're listening to so you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Bobby Brill. Thanks for listening.